Legal insurance is the second most popular voluntary insurance amongst expats in Germany. We often get questions regarding this insurance and how it works, and can you please make a video? So here we are. In this video, we're going to cover topics like what is legal insurance, what does it cover, what it does not cover, should you get legal insurance, how much does it cost, how much does a lawyer cost in Germany, how does legal insurance work, and which are the best legal insurance providers for expats in Germany. Hey, my name is Jen and I'm from Guatemala.
And mine is Yvonne and I'm German.
And together we're from simplegermany.com, where we create English content to empower internationals to settle into life in Germany more smoothly. So let's start by defining and asking, what is legal insurance?
Legal insurance, in German called Rechtsschutzversicherung, protects you from costs, from fees that apply in legal circumstances, such as court fees and lawyer fees, whenever someone sues you or you sue someone or need legal guidance.
Yes, and here to clarify, if you come from a country like the US, in Germany, suing doesn't work so aggressively, like I'm gonna sue you for this and sue you for that. Just to clarify that that's not what happens in Germany.
However, Germans do insist on their right, and they do prosecute it if there is no other way to kind of like get that.
Yeah, get an agreement and get the rights happening, for sure. So it's important to actually understand what does legal insurance cover, because it might not cover everything that you might think is related to legal insurance.
Yes, that is very, very true. Especially because legal insurance is kind of like the umbrella term. And within it, there is typically 5 different areas that have extra buckets of insurance. And the most popular ones, the 3 most popular ones usually get bundled in a policy, whereas the 4th and 5th bucket you can add as you could book as an add-on. So the first big bucket is personal matters. So literally anything in your private life that is maybe a hobby in that sense. So for example, you have trouble with your gym regarding your contract with the gym, or you have trouble with a travel agency because you booked a trip with them, or for example with your telecommunications provider. I mean, anything that is in your private life that is contracts related in that sense falls under this bucket.
Second bucket is the traffic matters, but not that it matters, but like traffic related issues. So for example, any dispute after an accident or damages to your car or damages to other cars, as well as fighting any speeding or ticket violations that were unjust. I mean, that have to be unjust, right? Because if you were speeding and there's a radar, you should get fined. Also, any contract related to traffic, in this case, it would be like car insurance contracts, and any disputes that are related to traffic, you can also use your legal insurance to fight that.
The next and third bucket is professional disputes. So pretty much anything work-related, job-related. And this, of course, is mainly with your employer. And it goes from unjust firing or like letting go of, but also maybe you don't get to take your vacation when you are in the right of, or anything in terms of maternity leave where your rights don't get respected. So really work-related disputes, which you know or hopefully are aware of that as an employee, you have a lot of rights on your side. And if you feel like that they are not being respected, then sometimes having a lawyer on your side can make the employer suddenly move very quickly.
Yes, definitely. Fourth bucket is home rental disputes. And this has to do with anything regarding to your home rental. It could be the rental contract itself, or disputes that you might have with your neighbors or your landlord, and also fighting for basic rights. Like for example, if your apartment does not have heating, that is a violation of your rights as a tenant, and you can use the legal insurance to fight that as well.
And the 5th bucket is a rather new bucket that has been added to the mix, and that is for criminal disputes, meaning that you are wrongfully accused of criminal negligence, such as theft or fraud. So that is something you could also protect yourself from. Again, the legal costs of it, because now we're going to talk about what is not covered, right?
Right.
And I just want to emphasize again, the legal insurance will only cover the costs and fees that appear through the court or through your lawyer, or maybe even the other party's lawyer, depending on how the whole thing works out. It does not cover any fines or compensation of damages you might have to pay. That needs to come from your own pocket.
Yes, and for that, could you have another insurance? No, then you're screwed. liability?
Yeah, definitely liability.
I'm not going to say, but if it's not your fault, or if it's proven that a liability insurance could cover it and you have liability, then that's a perfect combination.
For damages, but not for a fine.
Yes, right. Definitely. Yeah. Not for time. Another important topic where legal insurance is not going to help you is in case of also paying the legal fees for anything related to a divorce or immigration topics. And I think the thinking behind this is that a divorce in a way is voluntary. So you're going into that legal dispute from your own will, so to speak. So the legal fees for that are not covered by the insurance.
Because no one has harmed you or wronged you or discarded your right?
Right, yeah.
And the same goes for immigration. In most cases, it says, at least in our realm, immigration is voluntary. And again, since it's a voluntary thing, it doesn't really cover it's not protected. So the legal fees are not falling under protected fees, right?
Right.
And also super important, legal insurance does not cover, like any insurance, any existing disputes. Maybe they're simmering somewhere in the corner and you know they're gonna start exploding at some point. There are usually waiting periods when you sign up for a legal insurance policy, and they vary from all of those different buckets that we just mentioned. Some have no waiting time often, for example, traffic related. Others have a waiting time of 3 months, and others have a waiting time of 6 months. And these waiting times are in place to, again, kind of like for the insurance providers, protect themselves from abuse of, hey, I know that I have an issue with my landlord. I know my heating is not working. Let me quickly get legal insurance to then persecute or pursue my rights. That is usually not covered.
Yes, so in this case, ideally, you should get legal insurance maybe before you move to Germany, if possible.
Or whenever you should get it if you want to consider, I want to have I want to know that I'm protected and not because I need it in the future.
Yes.
And you already have a specific example in mind.
Yes, exactly. Which is a perfect way to go to the next section, which is should you get legal insurance or not?
And we are not here to tell you yes or no. We are here to showcase you the purpose of it and the use case of it, and you need to make your own decision because we are not influencing your decision. We're just showing you what's possible. And just to give you an example, 46% of Germans have this insurance. So again, this speaks to the case that we made in the beginning. Germans like to get their right. We have legal insurance. We've never used it in the fact of actually filing a claim with them, but we've used it in getting a consultation from a lawyer to understand our case and whether it makes sense to pursue it or not. My parents, on the other hand, have been frequent customers of the legal insurance because of one of the buckets just mentioned, and that is in the home area, because they have an ongoing dispute with their neighbor, unfortunately. And even if one dispute is done, the neighbor comes up with the next one. It's kind of one of those people who just really like legal battles, which is not a nice thing to have, but
yeah, it happens.
They are not moving anytime soon, yeah.
And also important to mention, I don't know if it was clear when we were talking about the different buckets, is that home-related disputes, it does not only have to be rental apartments. It can be houses or homes that you have purchased and you live in, because in the case of your parents, they own the house and they have the legal insurance to fight disputes from their property.
Correct. Here, however, I would read the policy carefully because there is a distinguishing factor between home ownership that you rent out as a landlord, right? And that is not part of it usually because it's no longer a private legal insurance.
Yes, that it would be a different insurance. Yeah. So at the end of the day, what I think it's the Vorteil or the benefit of having legal insurance, and that's why we have legal insurance, is that especially when I was here in Germany at the beginning, I had a lot of insecurities about things, and I was afraid of doing something wrong. I know it comes from fear, and that is not the reason to buy an insurance, but unfortunately the whole insurance market works on fear, of course. And it was just nice to know that I had legal insurance in case someone came to me with a lawsuit or someone treated me unfairly, and I knew I had this superpower tool or super thing that I could be oh, but I have legal insurance, so what's up? And kind of feel that defense. Kind of gives that security, which is kind of false in a way because so far nothing has happened. Like we mentioned, we've used it once to consult with a lawyer, and that was nice that we had it. But we've also used it, I think, in a few instances that we said, okay, we have legal insurance, we could continue if you want, or we can go to an agreement, and we would always arrive at an agreement, right? So it's kind of a nice thing to have.
The threat alone sometimes works wonders.
Yes. And I would say don't threat emptily, because a German could say, okay, then let's go. And then you don't have the insurance, they're like, okay, crap.
Yeah. And again, we don't want to portray that this is how Germans operate always, absolutely not. But again, it depends on the type of personality that some like that way of thinking and pursuing things more than others. And like you just said, I think for a lot of internationals, when you're not accustomed to customs, it's just so much easier to do something where you're unaware of that is wrong. For example, what we've talked about also at very early stages of our channel, downloading a movie is illegal and can really get you into legal trouble. And little things like that where you're where you're not sure what are the customs and you're doing something because you're not even thinking it could be wrong and then it's wrong. Those are the cases where most expats opt to get it. But again, that's your choice. It depends on how you live your life, right?
Yes, and another example I would say is maybe not only for the fear of doing like a mistake, let's say, but also to be able to consult if this is normal or not. We know an example also of a couple who they have a rental agreement, and in the rental agreement it says something like the landlord can increase the rent of 10% every year or something like that, which is definitely not normal. And they're super unsure of like, if the landlord increases, is this normal or not? And just to have the ability to then call a lawyer and say like, hey, I have this rental contract. Can you evaluate it? Can you review it? Is this okay? And my landlord is proposing this. And to get that assurance, like that is not okay. And for you then to stand up, so to speak, to the landlord and be like, yo, you're fooling me just because I'm here new. And that also is kind of like a cool thing that you can have that sparring partner in a way to go through that process until you learn, so to speak, all the rules and rights that you have in Germany, because you have a lot.
Yeah. Now, one could argue in a case like this, I could also literally just pay the one-time consultation of a lawyer, and it might be over the years of accumulation cheaper than paying for legal insurance. And this is, again, something you need to decide for yourself. The benefit of the providers we're going to mention at the end of the video is that you have an English-speaking lawyer, kind of like a hotline, where you will have a consultation within at least, I think, 3 days or so. And you don't need to go out there and find a lawyer equipped in the area that speaks English, right? So it's, again, this little bit of ease of access that comes with it.
So how much does legal insurance cost? Based on the information that we have at the time of recording this, the policy can range from between 15 euros to 40 euros a month. The policy price range is so vast because I think it depends on the buckets that you want to have as add-on, as well as if you want to have family members or not in your policy.
Also, actually, what matters is your age and also the zip code that you're living in. Because again, insurance is always kind of like a massive bucket of people, and then people in your age and that live in your area, how have they behaved in the past? It goes for any insurance, really. So if you compare it to liability insurance, which is by far the number one most important voluntary insurance, you should consider. If you don't know what we're talking about and you don't have one yet, be sure to click on the video in the description and watch that. So legal insurance is pricier than liability insurance when it comes to the monthly premium, which is also why it is the second most popular and not the number one most popular insurance.
Yes, which then, so if you want to compare, should I get legal insurance versus just hiring a lawyer, how much does a lawyer cost in Germany?
Very good question, and I wish I could give you a hard fact number. It costs X amount, but that just doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
So the answer is, it depends.
So to give you a bit of a better idea, there's two different ways lawyers can charge. One is the fee of a lawyer is regulated by the government, like it's a fixed regulation, where there's, of course, some leeway by the lawyer to decide on how much effort was the work that I did. And the fee depends on the amount that is in dispute. So let's say if the dispute value is 1,000 euros, the lawyer fee is going to be, of course, a lot less than if the dispute value is 10,000 euros. So the higher the dispute value, the higher the legal costs automatically, even though the lawyer has the same work. I hope that is clear. So that is one way. The other way is that you beforehand find an agreement with the lawyer that it is going to be an hourly basis. And there, my research has shown that on average, an hourly rate of a lawyer is around 200 euros. Now that again can highly vary on the area of law, because there's, an abundance of area of law, and of course also on where you live, what kind of lawyer you're talking to. So yeah, that just gives you a ballpark.
Yes, and you have an example also that if you're paying an hourly rate, I think an hourly rate might be good if you just have one question maybe, but if you want to actually proceed to go with a case at an hourly rate, it can easily become super expensive, because the thing is, if you go to court, like if you start the court process, you go to court and you lose, you also have to pay for the legal costs of the other party.
The lawyer of the other party.
The lawyer of the other party. So now you're paying your lawyer, the other person's lawyers, which you don't know also how much they charge. And that can easily...
And the court fees.
And the court fees. And that can easily add up to thousands of euros as well.
Yeah.
And if you do get legal insurance, how does it even work? Like, how do I start anything with them?
Yes. So the typical process would be that the provider you book it with, they offer, like I mentioned before, like a legal hotline where you can either call directly or you can reach out and say, hey, I would like a consultation with an English-speaking lawyer in this and this area of law, and that would be arranged, typically within the first 3 days or 3 business days. And that first consultation is in this case, of course, free because you're paying the monthly premium. And usually in that first free consultation, there is an assessment of your case and also an advice given in how far it makes sense to pursue it or not, and kind of like what your right is. Very much to just set the ground and see whether you want to continue. If that consultation was enough for you, great. I mean, then, you've got your answer and hopefully a few worries less. And if the answer is, hey, I have a case and I want to pursue my right, then they will, of course, also advise you on how to do so, what the next steps are. But you always have that first point of contact. And it's important, my experience in my profession, because I had to handle a lot of threats from lawyers. Typically, what people do is they contact their legal insurance first, get that free consultation, that assessment, and see, is what I would like to do covered? And once they get the approval of the insurance, yes, it's covered, then they kind of like let the lawyer start acting and maybe sending letters and threats and fighting for your right to the other party, whoever you're fighting with.
Now, which are the best legal insurance providers for expats in Germany?
Now, at the time of recording, there is actually only one provider that caters to foreigners or English-speaking internationals in Germany, and that is Feather Insurance. Now, mind you, for full transparency, we do want to point out that for the legal insurance policy, also Feather acts as a middleman because they actually provide a policy from a German provider that is called Roland. Now, why is it still that they are maybe best suited for you if you don't really are capable of the German language? Because as we've mentioned throughout the video, they add this extra layer of service on top of the German product, which is the English-speaking hotline for lawyers in all kinds of fields. And this is really what makes them, help you solve your issues, not only from their side, because all of their customer service is in English, if you have questions about your policy and stuff, but also on the actual product side, so that they help you seek out English help.
Yeah, that is super cool because if you're not super fluent in German, you can definitely talk about legal matters in English through this middleman or hotline that Feather provides. If you're interested in checking Feather out, you can do so in the link in the description box below. This is an affiliate link, so if you do decide to get a policy with Feather, we will get a small commission at no extra cost to you. We hope this video has clarified any doubts you might have had regarding legal insurance. Until next time, cheers! Second most popular voluntary insurance amongst insurance. Car someone or someone damaging the car of you. What am I talking about?
And what Jen just mentioned with the umbrella is...
With the umbrella? What umbrella?
That they are the umbrella...
Middleman, I said.
Middleman, okay.
Like, which umbrella? Sorry. We hope this video was valuable to you. We hope this video was valuable to you, and we hope to see you next Monday.
Until next time.
Yeah, okay.